The space station known as Valis Prime floated above the edge of the Alaran sector, a shining symbol of unity between alien empires. It was a hub of diplomacy, trade, and silent power plays. Dozens of species walked its shining halls, tall, graceful, scaled, glowing, or armored. But only one human had just stepped off the transport ship, suitcase in hand. His name was Leo, a quiet man in his early 30s. He was not a soldier, not a diplomat, not even someone special. He was an engineer, assigned by Earth's diplomatic corps to help upgrade the station's ancient water purification systems. To him, this was just a job, something far from the noise of Earth, far from failed dreams and missed chances. But the moment he walked through the docking bay scanner, someone noticed him. Leo's first days passed quietly. He stayed in a basic room within the human quarter and spent most of his time in the lower levels, repairing pipes and replacing rusted parts. He barely looked up when passing groups of high-ranking diplomats or colorful alien merchants. But some noticed him. One day, as Leo worked under a leaking valve, he heard soft footsteps behind him. When he looked up, he saw her for the first time. She was tall, with smooth silver-blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow faintly under the station lights. Her hair shimmered like dark metal. She wore a finely woven tunic with silver patterns, clear, signs of high status. 2 guards stood behind her, completely still. Leo stood up quickly, wiping his hands on a cloth. You're not supposed to be down here. This section's under repair." The woman tilted her head slightly, her expression calm. "I know, I came to see you." Leo blinked. "Me?" "Yes," she said, stepping closer. "Your name is Leo, from Earth. I watched your file. You were assigned to my station yesterday." "Your station?" "My name is Tayari Velsarin. I am the youngest of the fertile elite, and I wish to speak with you." Leo had no idea what that meant, but her voice was calm, her gaze focused. "I'm just a technician," he said slowly. "Nothing special." She smiled faintly. "I disagree." And just like that, she turned and walked away, her guards following. That evening, Leo asked around about her. Most people didn't even want to talk. One older human advisor finally pulled him aside and whispered, "Tayari is the daughter of the ruling house of Alaran. She's what they call fertile elite, a noble who carries the most prized genetic traits of her kind. She's expected to choose a mate for political union. You shouldn't even be near her." Leo didn't understand it fully, but the warning was clear. Stay away. But Tayari didn't stay away from him. The next day, she arrived again while Leo worked on another water system. She didn't speak at first, she just watched him with curiosity. "Why are you really here?" Leo finally asked, frustrated and confused. "I'm studying your kind," she said simply. "You are honest, direct. You do not pretend. I like that." "Most people don't like it when I'm direct," he muttered. Tayari only smiled. 2 days later, during a formal diplomatic gathering, Leo was invited unexpectedly. He wore a plain suit and stood quietly at the edge of the grand chamber. Alien leaders and nobles wore glowing robes, ceremonial medals, and strange jewels. The air was thick with perfume and tension. Then, everything went silent. Tayari walked to the center, wearing a deep blue ceremonial cloak. The room bowed as she spoke. "In accordance with the customs of my people," she said in a clear voice, "I hereby declare my intent to bond with Leo of Earth. He is my chosen." The room broke into whispers, gasps, and stares. Leo froze. Back. In his room, Leo sat on the bed, hands in his hair. The door buzzed. It was the Earth envoy. "Leo, what in the stars did you do?" "I didn't do anything," he said quickly. "She just said it in front of everyone." The envoy paced. "You don't understand what this means. You've just been chosen by a fertile elite. That's like being named consort to royalty. And she didn't pick a noble from the other houses, she picked you, a human. That kind of choice hasn't happened in over a century." Leo stood up. "Can't we tell her no?" The envoy shook his head. "That's the problem. She made the declaration under ritual law. She can't take it back without losing her status. And if we force her to withdraw it, we risk insulting the entire Ilaran ruling council. Leo looked down. So what happens now? The envoy sighed. Now, you become the center of a political storm you never asked for. Leo began to see the effects quickly. Some aliens avoided him. Others stared at him with confusion or quiet hatred. A few sent subtle warnings. But Tayari remained calm. She visited him again, this time in a quiet garden near the center of the station. You could have chosen anyone, Leo said quietly. You knew this would cause trouble. Yes, she replied. I am not afraid of trouble. But why me? Tayari sat beside him on a bench, folding her hands. My people marry for power, status, and strength. But you act without masks. You fix things without being told. You care about what breaks. That is rare. And I want to see what kind of future we could build together, free from the cages of expectation. Leo didn't know what to say. Her words were strange, but honest. Tayari looked at him seriously. Do you hate me for choosing you? No, Leo replied after a pause. I just don't understand it. Then let us take time, she said softly. You do not have to say yes. Not yet. Just don't run. That night, as Leo looked out his window at the stars, he realized something. He wasn't scared of Tayari. He was scared of what this meant. For both of them. But deep inside, something in him had changed. He was no longer just a visitor to this station. He was becoming part of something far greater. The air on Valis Prime felt heavier since the announcement. Leo could feel it even in the silent walkways and the buzzing lifts. Every time he passed someone, alien or human, their eyes followed him. Some full of curiosity, others with quiet judgment. Leo had never liked being the center of attention. Now he couldn't escape it. He kept working on the station systems as usual. Pipes still leaked, filters still failed. But now guards followed him, Tayari's personal protectors, and every work order had to be approved by both human and alien authorities. He was no longer just an engineer. He was the human Tayari chose. One morning, Leo stepped into a meeting room to fix a faulty sensor, but inside were several alien nobles all dressed in sharp, formal robes. They went silent the moment he entered. The lead noble, a tall being with gold markings across his face, narrowed his eyes. You are the Earthman, he said. Leo nodded slowly. I'm just here for a repair. The noble stepped closer. Tayari's decision is foolish. You are not worthy of her bloodline. Leave now, before you destroy her future. Leo didn't answer. He simply turned, fixed the sensor, and left the room. But the message was clear. He was not welcome. Later that day, Leo met with the Earth envoy again. We're getting pressure from all sides, the envoy said, pacing the small room. Half the council wants the declaration cancelled. The other half wants Earth to issue a formal apology. But we didn't do anything, Leo said. I didn't ask for this. I know, but that doesn't matter here. To them, you've broken a pattern that's lasted for generations. A fertile elite choosing a human, that's a challenge to everything they believe. Leo leaned back in his chair. So, what are we supposed to do? We wait. And we stay careful. That evening, Leo received an unexpected call. It was Tayari. I would like to walk with you, she said. Leo hesitated but agreed. They met in the quiet botanical dome, where alien plants grew under soft lights and strange birds chirped from hidden speakers. Tayari walked beside him, her hands behind her back. Some of my people hate you, she said calmly. I noticed. They fear change. They were born in systems of control. Marriages are arranged, children are designed. Freedom is a risk to them. Leo looked at her. And you want freedom? Tayari nodded. I do. But freedom comes with a price. Leo stopped. Walking. Why me, Terry? Really? I need to know. She turned to him, her expression calm. Because you don't try to impress me. You don't beg for favor or pretend to be someone else. And because when you look at me, you don't see a title. You see a person. Leo didn't know how to reply, so he simply said, "All right." The next day, the threat became real. Leo was walking through the lower engineering level when the lights flickered. A sound, a soft clicking, came from the shadows. His instincts kicked in, and he ducked just as a sharp projectile flew over his head and hit the wall. He ran, hearing the click again. Another shot missed him by inches. He grabbed a metal bar and turned a corner, but the attacker was gone. Security arrived minutes later. They found the projectile embedded in the wall. It was coated in neurotoxin, deadly to humans. Tayari arrived soon after, her face pale with anger. She ordered double guards for Leo and began an investigation. This was no random act, she said. They meant to kill you. The next morning, the attack made news across the station. Screens displayed the words, "Attempt on human's life. Tayari vows justice." The council met in private. Tayari entered alone and stood before the seated nobles. "I made a lawful choice," she said. "If you oppose me, do it openly. But sending cowards in the dark to kill him, that is not strength, that is fear." Some nobles whispered. Others looked away. Tayari pointed to one of them, a known rival named Velnar. "Your family controls the security codes in engineering. The attack came from there." Velnar stood. "You dishonor our bloodline by choosing an outsider." "I bring honor by choosing with my heart, not by order," Tayari replied. The room went silent. Leo, unaware of the full council events, remained in his room under heavy guard. He was restless. He wasn't used to doing nothing. Tayari visited that night. She brought him food, a simple alien bread with soft spices. "You're not safe here," she said. "They will try again." Leo looked at her. "Then what do we do?" Tayari paused. "We fight back, not with violence, but with truth. Let them see us together. Let them hear your voice. You don't have to pretend, just be you." Leo looked into her eyes. "You sure that'll work?" She smiled. "No, but it will scare them more than any weapon." The next day, Tayari invited Leo to a cultural event, an open market inside the central dome. Nobles, merchants, and citizens gathered to eat, speak, and trade. Tayari and Leo walked side by side. People stared. Some gasped. A few bowed. Others turned away, but no one dared stop them. Tayari showed him things. Soft fabrics that reacted to touch, glowing fruits that hummed quietly, and a music box that played melodies from memory. At one stall, a child approached Leo and handed him a flower. Leo smiled. "For me?" The child nodded. "You're brave, I like you." Leo took the flower gently. "Thanks, kid." Tayari watched with a soft expression. By evening, the council called an emergency session. Some nobles now believed that Tayari's bond with Leo was not just rebellion. It was a message. A new way of thinking. Younger citizens across the station had begun talking, sharing, even posting messages of support. The old ways were cracking, but change was never safe. In the shadows, a few remaining enemies began planning something worse than an attack. They would strike not with weapons, but with laws. Leo had never imagined that simply being chosen by someone could change everything. His days used to be quiet, fixing pipes, reading books, and staying out of the way. But now, each moment felt like walking on a thin wire above danger. He wasn't just a man anymore, he was a symbol, whether he wanted to be or not. Guards followed him everywhere. He was allowed only in certain parts of Valis Prime, and behind every corner he felt eyes, some curious, some cold. But Leo stayed calm. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't a leader. Still, he refused to run. Tayari came to him one morning with a new look in her eyes. Not fear, not worry, something harder. Determination. "They are using the law against us," she said. Leo looked up from the data pad. What law? There is an old rule among my people, she explained. If a fertile elite's choice is judged unfit for union, then the bond can be cancelled by force and by a vote of the High Circle. Leo frowned. So they're trying to kick me out legally? Yes, she said. They've already called a review. 3 days from now. Leo stood. And what happens if they win? Tayari lowered her voice. They will erase the bond. And you will be removed from the station. Removed. That word sounded soft, but Leo understood what it really meant. Exile. Or worse. Tayari wasn't one to wait and hope. She acted. That day, she took Leo to a private hall deep inside the station, her family's ancestral quarters. There she introduced him to Captain Senka, a former military leader and now head of her personal guard. Senka was tall, armored in pale blue armor, and had sharp, serious eyes. I'll be training you, she said simply. Leo blinked. Training? For what? To survive, Senka answered. From that moment, Leo began learning not just how to avoid attacks, but how to read body language, spot danger in a crowd, and defend himself if needed. It wasn't fancy or advanced, just enough to keep him alive. Senka didn't treat him like a joke. She didn't treat him like a hero either. She trained him like he was one of her own. At night, Leo sat with Tayari in a quiet chamber, eating simple meals and talking. I didn't sign up for this, Leo said with a tired smile. I know, Tayari replied. But you didn't run. I wanted to, he admitted. That's why I chose you. Leo paused, looking at her. You keep saying that. Why does it matter so much to you? Tayari leaned back. Because I've never had a choice before. Not really. Every meal, every lesson, every step, I followed a path others built for me. But you? You came from a planet no one respected, and you still stand tall. She smiled. That gives me hope. The day of the review came fast. Inside a cold, circular chamber, the High Circle gathered. 12 noble elders from different houses, each with long robes and sharp words. Tayari stood proudly at Leo's side. The lead speaker, a tall noble named Virex, began with a deep voice. Tayari Velsarin, your chosen bondmate is not of equal rank or genetic standard. Do you still stand by your decision? I do, she said firmly. The speaker turned to Leo. Human, state your purpose. Leo stepped forward. His voice was steady. I didn't ask to be chosen, he said, and I didn't expect any of this, but I care about Tayari. She treats me like a person, not a pawn. If that's wrong in your eyes, then maybe your system needs to change. There were murmurs across the chamber. One elder shouted, He speaks with disrespect. Another countered, He speaks with honesty. The vote began. One by one, the elders cast their choices, 6 in favor of keeping the bond, 6 against a tie. All eyes turned to the speaker of balance, an ancient figure who spoke only in deadlocks. Her voice was thin but clear. Let the people of Vallis Prime decide. Tayari and Leo stood in shock. It had never happened before. The council was passing the decision to the citizens, workers, traders, soldiers, scholars. Thousands of aliens from dozens of species now had a say. Within hours, the vote began. It was quiet, digital, and private. No one could be forced or watched. Leo stayed in his room, pacing. Tayari sat calmly on the floor, meditating. When the results came, they arrived as a single message. Bond confirmed by public majority. Tayari looked up at Leo. They chose us. Leo let out a long breath and laughed softly. I can't believe it. You should, she said. You earned it. But not everyone accepted defeat. That night, while the station celebrated, quietly, a group of masked attackers stormed one of the guard posts near Leo's chamber. Silent and fast, they took down 2 soldiers and reached the inner door. Leo, now alert from his training, heard the alarm just in time. He grabbed the emergency communicator and shouted for help. Before he could move, The door burst open. 3 figures rushed in, weapons raised. But so did Captain Senka. She moved like a storm, blocking blades, countering shots, and driving the attackers back. Leo even threw a chair, hitting one of them and giving Senka a clean strike. In minutes, it was over. The attackers were down, captured alive. Senka turned to Leo. Not bad for a human. The next day, Tayari stood before the council again, not to defend herself but to challenge. You tried to remove me from my path. You failed, she said. Now I ask you, how many more young nobles must live like prisoners of old laws? There was no answer. Outside, across the station, a new sign appeared on screens. Change has begun. And it started with a human. That evening, Leo and Tayari walked through the market again. No one turned away this time. Some even bowed. Others smiled. The young child from before ran up and gave Leo another flower. This time, Tayari took it and placed it in Leo's shirt pocket. He grinned. So, what now? Tayari looked at the stars above the dome. Now we show them what real unity looks like. Leo nodded slowly. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And for the first time, Leo didn't feel like an outsider anymore. He felt like he belonged. Peace never lasts long in places full of power. After the public confirmed the bond between Tayari and Leo, it felt like things were finally calm. No more attacks. No more whispers in the shadows. Even the guards around Leo started to relax, and people on the station greeted him without fear. But deep inside the high circle chambers, some were not done. Powerful nobles, embarrassed by their failure, began planning something different. If they couldn't destroy Leo with weapons or laws, they would destroy him with doubt. It began with rumors, quiet messages spread through the station's private networks. Leo is controlling Tayari. Humans use hidden chemicals to gain influence. The bond is not natural, it's a trick. Leo heard them, of course. You couldn't walk through the station without catching a glance or whisper. At first, he ignored them. Then one of Tayari's guards was poisoned during a patrol. In the medical wing, Leo stood by the bed of the injured guard. Captain Senka arrived and looked at the reports. It wasn't meant for the guard, she said flatly. It was meant for you. They switched drinks. Leo swallowed. And the guard? He'll survive. But this is a message. The cowards are back. Tayari entered moments later. She walked straight to the bed, touched her soldier's hand, and whispered something in her language. Then she turned to Leo. We can't let this go unchallenged. Leo nodded. So what? Do? We confront them directly, she said. In front of everyone. Tayari called for a public hearing. The right of clarity. It was a rare event where accusations, rumors, and secrets were brought into light. It hadn't been used in decades. The council tried to delay it. They failed. The station's central hall was filled to the edges. Diplomats, workers, students, and nobles gathered. It was being streamed live across the system. Tayari walked in wearing the cloak of her bloodline, and Leo walked beside her, dressed in formal human attire, simple but clean. The speaker of the council stood. You have called a right. Speak. Your truth. Tayari's voice echoed across the hall. There are those among us who fear what they do not control. They spread lies. They poison the hearts of others. They tried to kill my chosen, the crowd murmured. She continued. We will not answer with blades. We will not answer with fear. We answer with truth. She turned and nodded to Leo. Leo stepped forward. I know I don't belong to your traditions. I don't have a title. I didn't grow up in a palace. I can't speak your language perfectly, he said. But I know this. When someone cares for you, they stand beside you even when it's hard. Tayari stood beside me. So I will stand. Beside her. He looked directly at the crowd. You think I'm weak? I'm not. I came from a world where we survive because we help each other. I'm not here to take your power. I'm here because she believed in me, and I believe in her. There was silence at first. Then someone clapped. Then another. Soon the hall was filled with sound, not of anger, but of support. Later, in private chambers, Tayari and Leo sat together. Quiet but not tired. "You were brave," she said. Leo smiled a little. "I was shaking the whole time." "I noticed," she said softly. "But they didn't." Leo leaned back. "Do you think they'll stop now?" Tayari shook her head. "No. But now, they know we're not afraid to face them." But the enemies did not stop, they only changed their plan. 3 days after the Yi, hearing an ancient law was discovered, buried deep in the books of the ruling code. It stated that no bond between species shall be confirmed until a trial of harmony is passed. The trial was designed hundreds of years ago and had not been used in generations. But now, the council declared it must be done, or the bond would be revoked. "What is the trial of harmony?" Leo asked. Tayari frowned. "It's a test made to prove two bonded partners can live in sync. Normally it's a small tradition, done for show. But now they're changing the rules." Captain Senka explained further. "The council has chosen the hardest version, one designed for failure. You must both enter a virtual simulation, where your bond is tested. Pain, fear, conflict. If either of you breaks it, the trial ends. You lose." Leo looked at Tayari. "They really don't stop, do they?" "No," she said. "But neither do I." The day of the trial came quickly. Leo and Tayari stood before the council again, this time dressed in light armor suits connected to a mind-link system. The tech would place them inside a simulated world, real to the mind, but not to the body. "If we're hurt in there," Leo asked quietly. "You won't die," Senka said. "But you might wish you were." "Comforting," Leo muttered. Tayari took his hand. "Ready?" "Not at all." "Good. Let's do this." The simulation began. Leo opened his eyes and found himself in a ruined city, smoke rising, strange beasts howling in the distance. He wore no armor, no weapon, just his bare hands. Tayari appeared beside him, dressed the same. Suddenly, fire rained from the sky. They ran, through burning buildings, across broken bridges, into dark tunnels. In each stage they were separated and tested. Leo faced a trial of fear. His worst memories replayed. His childhood losses, the moments he felt worthless, voices telling him he would never be enough. But then he remembered her voice. Calm, strong, calling his name. He broke through the illusion. Tayari faced a different test. She stood in a room filled with holograms of her people, elders, ancestors, nobles, all yelling that she had betrayed them, that her bond to a human was weakness, that she would bring shame to the bloodline. She stood firm. She shouted back, "My heart is not your property. My life is not your law." The room shattered around her. In the final test, they were placed on opposite sides of a long bridge. Below was a pit of endless void. Between them, dangerous wind and energy storms. They had to walk to each other. No shields, no help. Leo stepped forward first. The wind burned. The energy cracked against his skin. He fell once, but got back up. Tayari did the same. Her movements graceful but difficult. They reached each other in the center just as the storm rose higher. Tayari took his hand again. "We made it," she whispered. The simulation ended. When they woke up, they were back in the chamber. The council stared at them, shocked. No one had passed that version of the trial in over a century. The speaker of the council finally stood. Trial completed. Bond confirmed. Later, in the quiet gardens of Valis Prime, Leo and Tayari walked together once more. "You do realize," Leo said, "that we've been attacked, poisoned, threatened, and mentally tortured just to be allowed to hold hands. In public?" Tayari laughed softly. "Yes, romantic, isn't it?" Leo chuckled. "We're either crazy or very, very brave." Tayari looked at him with soft eyes. "Maybe both." The day had come that many thought impossible. Leo and Tayari stood before the gathered crowd in the great hall of Valis Prime, the heart of the Alaran sector. The hall was filled with beings of all kinds, nobles, workers, merchants, and soldiers. Every eye watched them. The room was alive with whispers and excitement. For the first time in a century, a fertile elite would publicly bond with a human. Tayari's hand found Leo's, steady and warm. The speaker of the council, an ancient figure, robed in silver and gold, stepped forward. With this ceremony, we recognize a new bond, one built on choice, courage, and respect. Let it be known that tradition can change, and so can we. A soft murmur spread, some nodding, others watching with surprise. The ceremony was simple, but powerful. Tayari spoke, her voice clear. I choose Leo, not because he has wealth, title, or power, but because he sees me as I am. Leo added, I stand beside Tayari because she is strong, wise, and brave. Together, we face the future. They exchanged symbols of their bond, ancient rings shaped from metals of the stars glowing softly under the hall's lights. When the speaker declared them bonded partners, the crowd broke into applause. Some cheers were loud, some respectful, some silent, but all eyes stayed on them. After the ceremony, Tayari and Leo stood on the balcony overlooking the city. Tayari leaned against the railing. Do you believe this is real? Leo looked at the bright stars above the towers. I believe it is, but more than that, I believe this is just the beginning. Tayari smiled. My people will take time to accept it. Some may never. Leo nodded. But those who do will see something new, a chance to live differently. She looked at him. You changed my world, Leo. Not just because of the bond, but because you showed me what it means to be free. In the weeks that followed, changes spread across the Alaran sector. Younger nobles began to question old rules. Traders from distant planets spoke openly about human ideas of equality and choice. Even some elders softened, inspired by the courage of one human and one alien noble. Leo helped Tayari start new programs, schools where different species could learn together, councils where workers' voices mattered, and places where love was a choice, not a command. He worked with engineers, diplomats, and teachers. His simple ideas, honesty, respect, and kindness, made a difference. One evening, as they walked through the quiet gardens, Tayari stopped. There is something I want to show you, she said. She led Leo to a small pond, glowing faintly with biolights from alien plants. There is a story for my people, she began softly, about a tree that grows only where two different roots join. Leo looked at the shimmering water. What does it mean? It means strength comes from unity. From two different beings coming together to grow something new. Leo smiled. Then maybe we are that tree, Tayari nodded. Yes, and our roots will grow deep no matter what storms come. But not all storms were far away. A message arrived from the council. It was a formal invitation and a warning. They offered Tayari a place on the ruling board, a chance to shape laws and futures. But they also reminded her that her bond must be an example, perfect, strong, and unbreakable. Leo read the message aloud. They want us to be their example. Tayari looked determined. Then we will be, but on our own terms. The story of Leo and Tayari spread beyond Valis Prime. In distant planets, humans and aliens watched the news with hope. A human ambassador said, They show us that no matter where we come from, courage and respect can build bridges. An alien scholar said, The Alaran sector will never be the same. And so the youngest fertile elite and the human she chose began their journey, not just as bonded partners, but as leaders of a new future. A future where tradition and change walked hand in hand. Where love was not a command, but a choice. Where differences were not barriers, but roots for growth. Leo and Tayari stood together, ready to face the unknown, because together they were stronger than any law, stronger than any fear, stronger than the stars.